Chapter 11. American History, 1900 to 2001. By the 1900s, more people in the United States were moving to cities to work in factories, and immigrants from all over the world were moving to the U.S. The United States economy was starting to grow, and soon the U.S. would begin to increase the size of its military. World War I. In 1914, a war started in Europe. When the war started, it was called the Great War. Today, the Great War is called World War I. There were many countries fighting on each side of the war during World War I. World War I was fought by countries from around the world from 1914 to 1918, but the U.S. did not join the war until 1917. The U.S. fought in World War I from 1917 to 1918. World War I ended on November 11, 1918. Today, we celebrate Veterans Day on November 11th to honor everyone who has served in the U.S. military. Veterans Day is a national U.S. holiday. Woodrow Wilson was president during World War I. He was the 28th President of the United States, serving from 1913 to 1921. Other wars the United States fought in the 1900s include World War II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and the Persian Gulf War. The Great Depression. When Franklin Roosevelt was elected in 1933, the U.S. was in the Great Depression. The Great Depression was the worst economic time in U.S. history. The economic system of the United States is called a capitalist economy, or a market economy. In a market economy, the government does not control all business, and people are free to start companies and earn money. The Great Depression caused many banks and businesses to close. Many people lost their jobs, homes, and savings. Franklin Roosevelt. Franklin Roosevelt was elected the 32nd President of the United States in 1933. He served 4 times, from 1933 to 1945, which is the longest term of any U.S. president. He died while still serving in 1945. In 1951, the 22nd Amendment was added to the Constitution. The 22nd Amendment says a person can only be elected president 2 times. Franklin Roosevelt was president during 2 important events, the Great Depression and World War II. World War II. World War II began in 1939 when Germany attacked Poland. Germany then attacked other European countries. Japan and Italy joined Germany's side. World War II is another war the U.S. fought in the 1900s. The U.S. fought in World War II from 1941 to 1945. On December 7, 1941, Japan attacked a U.S. naval base in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. The next day, President Roosevelt announced that the U.S. would enter the war. Later that day, Congress voted to declare war. During World War II, the U.S. fought against Japan, Germany, and Italy. World War II ended in 1945 when Germany and Japan surrendered. The Cold War. During World War II, the United States and Russia fought on the same side. Russia controlled many nearby countries. Russia, and the countries it controlled, were called the Soviet Union. The U.S. and the Soviet Union did not trust each other. After World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union became involved in the Cold War. During the Cold War, the U.S. and the Soviet Union did not fight each other in battles. Instead, both sides used diplomats, spies, and threats. During the Cold War, the main concern of the United States was the spread of communism. Communism is a type of government in which the government plans the economy and controls most of the resources. Also, in most communist countries, the government is controlled by one political party. Russia and all the countries in the Soviet Union were communist. Other countries like China and North Korea were also becoming communist. The U.S. wanted to stop other countries around the world from becoming communist. In 1953, Dwight Eisenhower became the 34th president. He served from 1953 to 1961. Before that, Eisenhower was a general in World War II. During his presidency, both countries built large armies and started sending rockets into space. In 1957, the Soviet Union launched the first satellite. In 1969, the U.S. landed the first person on the moon. The Cold War ended in 1991, when the Soviet Union collapsed. The Civil Rights Movement. In the 1900s, many states had laws that discriminated against people based on race. Some laws forced people of different races to use separate schools, restaurants, and neighborhoods. Other laws made it hard for people of certain races to vote. These laws often separated Black Americans from white Americans, and also discriminated against Latino Americans and Asian Americans. After World War II ended, many people began a movement to end racial discrimination. This movement is called the Civil Rights Movement. People worked to change laws that separated people by race or kept them from voting. Martin Luther King Jr. fought for civil rights. He was a leader who organized peaceful protests. He focused on civil rights for Black Americans, but he believed everyone should have equal rights. Many Latino Americans, Asian Americans, and others also helped lead the fight for civil rights. Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta were two important leaders in the Latino community. Because of the Civil Rights Movement, Martin Luther King Jr. and other leaders convinced Congress to pass two important laws. In 1964, Congress passed the Civil Rights Act, which bans discrimination based on race, religion, sex, or national origin. In 1965, Congress passed the Voting Rights Act, which protects the right to vote for everyone. Today, Martin Luther King Jr. Day is a national holiday, celebrated on the third Monday in January. September 11, 2001. On September 11, 2001, terrorists attacked the United States. Terrorists hijacked 4 airplanes. 2 planes crashed into the World Trade Center in New York City. 1 plane hit the Pentagon near Washington, D.C. The passengers on the 4th plane fought the terrorists, and the plane crashed in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Almost 3,000 people died in the September 11 terrorist attacks. The September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks were the worst attacks on the United States homeland since Japan attacked Pearl Harbor in 1941.